My name is Carol Atkinson. I'm the designated family judge for East London Family Court.
I'm Helen Minnis. I'm the professor that thought about the trial in the first place. This trial is called the Best Services Trial, but it's best with a question mark, and that's because we really don't know what's best. Children coming into foster care and trying to work out what's best for them, and there are different ways of helping, and really I wanted to try and understand which was the best way of helping them and their families.
If you are a lawyer representing parents who qualify for this trial, it's not my role to interfere with the advice that you need to give to your client. But this is a really important opportunity for your client to take part in research that might have long-lasting impact upon the decisions that we make about children on a daily basis. I would invite you to ensure that you are well informed about this research and you allow access to your client.
There are really two models. There's the model that's led by social work experts, and then there's the model that's led by mental health experts. The big question in the trial is which of these two approaches is best. When a baby or toddler under the age of 5 comes into care, everybody involved is asked if they want to consent, and if they're happy to take part, then a computer decides randomly which side of the child will go into, so the mental health side or the social work side. And then an independent group of scientists will meet with the child within the first 3 months. We then, as a research team, wouldn't see the family again until about 15 months later, and then we meet them again about 2.5 years later.
When I was first approached, I didn't like the idea of randomisation, but to provide hard evidence, the gold standard in all research is a randomised controlled trial. We see that all the time in health research. The judge retains control over the proceedings, and people need to understand that there is nothing random about the decision making. The decision that is made about your children and their welfare will be considered and fair.
My name is Suzanne Miller and I've got responsibility for all children's social work services in the City of Glasgow. This is a really difficult time for birth families when their children are taken into care. A randomised clinical trial is really new in social work, and that notion that you've not got control over which part of the trial that children and their families and foster carers would go to. But I am absolutely convinced that we will get an evidence base at the end of this that will reassure me that we are doing the best by children and families at that critical stage in their life. What I came back to was that parents and families and foster carers were going to get a really high quality service whichever part of the trial they're on.
What you find is you end up comparing best practice with something that could be better. And what we found is that birth families, your clients, actually, they really get that going into something that's a new opportunity for them is worth their while, because with any luck, it means a better quality decision will be made. So that if the child goes home, the child will stay home. Every single one of the families that we asked about taking part, they were all glad they took part. They were glad that they were part of a randomised trial because they could see the fairness in that.
I thought very carefully about whether or not there'd be any prejudice to the parents or their lawyers. I suppose that there is a restriction in the choice that a lawyer would have in terms of assessment, but I think we all know that there are limited choices available when it comes to assessments in family proceedings in any event. So as the judge in charge of these proceedings, I have to have at the centre of my decision making the child. But I would not support this trial if I thought it had any impact upon the fairness of these proceedings for parents.
The reason that we're focusing on children under 5 is so if you can get in there early, you can make really big changes really quickly. The great Harvard economist, James Heckman, who's got a Nobel Prize for his work, he's described a curve that really shows that you get a much, much bigger bang for your buck if you want to look at it economically when you get in really early than if you wait. For me, child and adolescent mental health is just the most exciting science. It's just where the frontiers are at. The brain is actually more complex than the universe. If you look at the stars in the night sky, there are vastly more brain cells in a baby's brain. Scientists estimate there are more than 1 million neural connections being made in a baby's brain every second. We're really applying very rigorous science to help these tiny children where there's so much opportunity for change.
My name's Faye and I've been fostering for 10 years. I'm really glad that I went on the trial because I've learned so much and I know it's helped the children. It was a random selection. So either one side or the other, whichever side we were chosen to go on, both of them are going to have positive results anyway. At the end of the day, we're doing it for a very good reason.
If you are a parent facing the prospect of your children being taken into care, then this is a really good opportunity for you to contribute to the research that will help us make better decisions about outcomes for children in the future.
What we've heard from birth families is they feel that the trial has given them the opportunity to properly explore how they might look after their children. It's given them some space and time for themselves, some really good feedback that they've been pleased that they have been involved in the trial. And potentially, even for those birth parents who don't manage to continue to care for this child, we significantly improve their chances of parenting their subsequent children.
I feel really honoured to work with these birth families because they are going through so much. And to have your child taken into care but to still want to contribute to science is just fantastic. Same with lawyers. I thought initially that lawyers would be very focused on their clients, but they're also really trying to weigh up all the legislation, the adults' human rights versus the child welfare legislation. They've got a tricky job and they're really trying to do it to the best of their ability, and they're very much along with us along the journey.
The former president of the Family Division and the current president of the Family Division have both approved this trial. I'm very keen to make sure that we make this process as easy for both the parents and for the lawyers. If you have any feedback or any observations about the way in which it's going, the way in which it impacts upon parents when they're at court, then I'd be happy to hear it. I'm very aware that the decisions that I make every day are life-changing decisions for families and children. That's why I endorse this trial.